Well, hello everyone. I appreciate you all stopping by. Tonight is going to be another live Q&A. We're going to be chatting about some inshore saltwater kayak fishing or just any type of inshore fishing questions that you guys may have. But to start off, I always start off, cheers. Tonight's brew is Beach Life, and this is actually from the Leatherback Brewing Company, and it's in St. Croix in the U.S. Virgin Islands. I saw this on the shelf and I was intrigued by it. I like the lighter beers during the summertime. It's a blonde ale, and I tell you what, that is a fantastic beer. So if you guys are looking for something, check out Leatherback Brewing Company. This is Beach Life. It is a really good, solid beer, especially for the summertime. If you're looking for something a little bit on the lighter side, it's just really, really good. So, excuse me. I want to start off by recapping last week's fishing trip. So, last week I actually got to fish with several subscribers. Ron and Joe, they were the two winners of the kind of raffle that I put out several months ago. You had to go and sign up on Instagram. You just had to send a keyword in and message me, and you got put into a random drawing, and those two guys won. Hey, Freedom, how you doing? Sherwood, good to see ya. Good to see you, man. Everett, nice to see ya. Good to see you guys. Joe and Ron, they ended up winning that random drawing. And then we actually met two other guys at the landing that morning, and Sherwood was one of them. And he's actually on the chat right now. Russell, how you doing? And Sherwood, he's on the chat right now. And Sherwood, I just got done editing the video, and this video is going to drop at midnight tonight, or I guess Friday at midnight. So early Friday morning, 12 a.m., this new video is going to drop. So basically, we had, 4 or 5 of us going down the creeks of Murrells Inlet. It was a ton of fun. Everybody caught some fish, and it was brutally hot. I mean, the humidity was up, the temperature was up, but the flounder were biting. Everybody got some fish. I think I ended up catching 4 or 5. I think my biggest was like 15 and a half. No real size to them. I probably lost that many, just not keeping them buttoned up. And as soon as they hit the top of the water, they would shake the hook and end up coming up. But the guy who really did well was Joe. Joe, I think he fishes a lot out of Cherry Grove, which is north of Myrtle. And he usually goes out and he says he'll catch maybe 2 or 3 flounder. That's a really good day for him. Well, we actually got him on 5 flounder. So he had a really great day. And I think everybody had a fun time. It was great to have that many guys in such a small area. We were cutting it up. We were chatting, got to learn about each other. And it was just a really, really fun time. So, guys, again, if you have any questions, throw them down there in the chat and I will get to them as they pop up. But one of the things that I did want to go over was some of the common questions that I got over the last few weeks for some of the videos that I put out. So I'm going to go ahead and dive into it. So one gentleman, his question was, looking to buy some inshore reels. What's the best size, 2,500 or 3,000 size reel? Well, really, for the kind of fishing that I do, creek fishing and inshore saltwater, 2,500 and a 3,000 size is perfect. I wouldn't go any bigger and I wouldn't go any smaller. Those are right in the sweet spot. So anytime you start getting into, excuse me, a 4,000, 5,000 size reel for inshore, it's too big of a reel in my opinion. One, it takes a lot of braid to spool those things up, and you just don't need that big of a reel with that much drag to fight the size fish that are inshore. A 2500 or a 3000 size reel, they will handle, 30 plus inch redfish with no problem. It may take you a little bit longer to get them in, but the drag will hold and it'll be just fine. So 2500 or a 3000 size would be perfect. I would spool them up with 10-pound braid and no more than 15-pound braid. And again, that will handle any size fish inshore that you're going to come across. And you want the smaller diameter braid for castability. You want to be able to bomb these casts, and stay away from these fish. So that's what I would do. 2500 with 10-pound is what I have. Those are my size reels, and that's what I use. So that was a really good question. I wanted to make sure that I addressed that tonight. Freedom, excuse me. I know the offshore forecast is bad for tomorrow. Does that affect the fishing in the inlet? Well, what's going to affect the fishing in the inlet is the rain that we're going to be getting. I thought we were going to be getting a lot more rain than kind of what we've already had. I don't know if that makes sense or not, but the radar looked a lot worse than the rain we've been getting. I thought we were going to get some flooding, and anytime we get such an influx of fresh water like that, it can affect the fishing. So, but right now, I don't think the system that we're going to get, tonight and tomorrow is really going to affect it. If anything, I'm hoping that this cooler rain is going to kind of cool down the water a little bit. Now, I didn't go fishing last weekend. I didn't go fishing last weekend, but it was when I was out with the guys, the water temperature was 84 degrees. So we had been in, the upper 80s, pushing 90s all this week. So I've got to imagine the water temperature is that mid 80s, maybe even 86, 87 degrees. So with this rain and this system that's pushing through tonight and tomorrow, this rain hopefully will drop the water temperature down and improve the fishing for the weekend. So that's kind of what I'm hoping for. So, hey, Tim, good to see you. Good to see you. Sherwood, 2500 with 10-pound test. Yeah, that would be perfect. That's the perfect size. Again, you can go up to a 3000 size reel and even up to a 15-pound braid. You'll still be fine. You'll still get real good castability. Now, one of the things about castability also comes into your rod. So when I use like a medium light fast action rod, when I go to cast these rods, I kind of pull it back nice and slow, and I feel the weight of that lure kind of hold back. I let that rod load, and then I let it go, and you'll get a lot better casting distance if you do that. Load up those rods, go back nice and slow, and then go ahead and let those lures go. The longer cast you can make, again, the better off you're going to be, because you're going to stay away from those fish before you get on top of them and spook them. So yeah, that's a little tip that I learned. Oh gosh, I can't. As a matter of fact, I think it was Bill Dance way back in the day. I think he actually did, some casting seminars. So Tim actually just said I was in the inlet and the water temperature was 86. Yeah, so the water temperatures are really starting to climb and get into those summer patterns. And 86, it's starting to get really, really hot. Now, I have a redfish tournament on Saturday, and basically, without giving away too much, what I am going to start doing is I'm going to push way back up into some creeks, into some shallow water. And then as the day goes on, I'm going to pull out and try to get into some deeper water, with some current movement. So that's kind of where my mindset is right now. In the mornings, the water should be a little bit on the cooler side. And then obviously as the day heats up, the sun comes out, it heats up the water. Those shallow areas are going to heat up a lot faster than the deeper areas. So I want to make sure I'm fishing shallow first, and then I'm going to start pulling out and finding some current and some deeper holes, maybe at some bigger creek channels, some bigger creek mouths, some larger main creeks is kind of where I'm going to start kind of pulling out to. Lines are in at 6:30, lines are out at 2:30. I have a feeling that, pretty much the bite is going to be shutting down by 11 or 12 o'clock. And then after that, trying to find these reds are probably going to be fairly difficult to find. Go out to some deeper water, maybe some live bait, maybe, a quarter blue crab, something on the bottom. You'll probably pick up a red, around the jetties. But Jake, good to see you, man. Hope you're doing well. Jake was actually another one of the anglers that joined the five of us. He's buddies with Sherwood, and so he was out there. And matter of fact, he said that when he was out a couple of weeks ago, he'd only been out in his kayak maybe like 3 times or something like that. So yeah, it was a great day. It was great to meet you guys, and hopefully we catch back up again and get on some more fish. The fishing was good. So I'm going to hit another question here. It said, another gentleman wrote in and said, is Morris Landing open 24/7? Yes. It doesn't shut down. Now, the only thing that you have to look out for Morris Landing is low tide. So at low tide, there is no water. It's mud, and it's pluff mud, and you will sink up to your hips. Trust me. I know my son was caught out in it. He didn't get all the way up to his hips, but he jumped out and he was stuck. So that's the one thing you gotta really watch at Morris Landing is the tide. But yes, it's open. You can go at night. You can put in and just like I said, just watch the tides. Jake said, had a blast. It was a good day. From some of the Facebook groups, it looks like people are still slaying the flounder. Yeah, the flounder bite is still on right now. So again, if you guys can get out there and hit the flounder. They were, on that day, they were hitting, I know, on some shrimp patterns. I was throwing a voodoo shrimp. And I was also throwing a paddle tail, 4-inch paddle tail. And I was coming up to a couple of creek mouths, and you'll see this in the video, is I saw some good water movement. I saw some bait around these creek mouths, and I started with a voodoo shrimp, and I wasn't getting a hit, and I was like, man, I know there's got to be something there. So I put the shrimp away, and I pulled out a paddle tail and followed right back up with a paddle tail, and bang, picked up a small flounder. That happened twice in 2 different areas where I followed back up with a totally different lure, a totally different presentation, and it triggered a strike. So when you guys are out there, if you're working a creek mouth and you just have this feeling, there's got to be something here, follow it back up with a different pattern, and I think you'll probably get some success by throwing in something a little bit different. So keeping going here, another gentleman wrote in and said, wondering why you always use a trout eye or redfish eye jig head. Does it make a difference when targeting flounder and redfish? No, it does not make a difference. I use the trout eye and redfish eye because I love those jigs. The hooks are stout. I've never bent one out. They're on the expensive side, but I want my terminal tackle to hold up. That is the one place that I do not want a failure. when I am hooked into a fish, the last thing I want is my hook to straighten out. So when you guys are looking at terminal tackle, that's the only thing that I'm looking for, is something that is not going to fail on me, when I need it the most, and that's when you hook into a fish. And that's the only reason why I use that. There are other great hooks out there. VMC makes a great hook. Victory makes a great hook. I just like the trout eye jig heads. I think they've got a natural look to them. I like the eye to them. It's a confidence terminal tackle for me. Just like a voodoo shrimp is confident for me, a paddle tail is confident. That jig head is a confidence lure for me. So does it make a difference in targeting? No, it's just a hook. Okay, so use what you are confident in when you're using rods, reels, line, terminal tackle, and lures. It's all about confidence. It really is. Another question. Do you guys deal with no-see-ums or sand gnats like we do in the marshes in South Alabama? Yes, we do. And I know everybody who is on the chat right now is probably saying these things drive us crazy. When it is a still morning and there isn't a breath of wind, those no-see-ums and gnats are absolutely awful. I can't get bundled up enough to keep those things off of me. Now, I do use a thermocell to keep the gnats and stuff off of me. I think it works well. One, I'm not putting bug spray on my hands, and that bug spray will transfer to your lures. So as you're putting maybe some Procure on, or you're changing your lures and you've got bug spray on, and it's just transferring that scent onto your lure. Well, with the thermocell, it's a gas. It's like a citronella candle. You guys know what a thermocell is. And I usually have it on my belt or right on my crate directly behind me. And those things basically put out like a 10 or 12-foot bubble of insect repellent around you. So it works really well for me. I usually don't have an issue with the no-see-ums or the mosquitoes or any of the bugs like that when I have my thermocell. Yes, I've forgotten it. Yes, I have gone all the way back to the truck to get it because the no-see-ums are so bad. But yes, we have the exact same thing that you guys have in Alabama, and it's awful. It is really bad. Everett says they will find exposed skin. You bet. I mean, I've had them go like inside my sunglasses and get around my eyes, and I pull my buff up where I'm just got just nothing, and they still find their way through. Man, those little boogers, man, they will find any little nook and crevice to get in and just irritate you. I hate them. I hate them. So again, guys, if you have questions, Jake actually has a question. Ever had much luck with white bucktail jigs for flounder? I haven't used them, but I know guys who use bucktails all the time and have great success with them. Yes, absolutely. So any type of a bucktail, a white would work great. And a lot of times they will put a trailer on. So they may put a jerkbait on the back to give it a little bit more action, or maybe a paddle tail on the back to give it a little more action, or something called some fish bites, which looks like a little strip, almost just a little rectangle. You can get them at Walmart or Palmetto State Armory, Bass Pro, and they come in all different kinds of scents, shrimp, mullet, stuff like that. And you cut the little strip off and you put it on the hook. And guys have a lot of success tipping their bucktails with those. So absolutely. You said your grandpa uses and swears by them. Yeah, absolutely. So give them a try. The white bucktails are great. That's something that I probably need to do a video on. I need to probably grab a couple of bucktails and go out there and target some flounder using some bucktails. Matter of fact, Jake, I'm going to write that down. I think I'm going to do a bucktail video. I appreciate that. That's a really good question. And if any of you guys have ever used bucktails, just put in the chat I have or me, and that'll kind of give me an idea of how many guys are actually using them. So here is a question this actually came from Jake, and it says, is the fishing never any good the dead low tide coming in? Yes, absolutely. So at dead low tide, you can still catch fish. I can still catch flounder at dead low tide. They seem to be the more aggressive feeder when there's no current. But as soon as that current starts to come in or start to move, then that's when the other predatory fish are going to start to fire up. Your redfish, your trout, they want that current movement. They want that bait to be flushing into these areas. So yes, dead low tide coming in is a great time to fish. There are some areas in some front of creek mouths where they start to really drain. Those are fantastic spots to hit on an incoming tide. And again, during the summer, the incoming tide is going to be really productive because that deep ocean water is going to be cooler than the inshore shallow water of the creeks. So if that shallow water heats up to 88, 89 degrees, but the ocean temp is 85, that's cooler water that's being flushed in, and that's what those fish are going to be looking for. Even if it's a degree or two cooler, these fish are going to gravitate towards it. So during the summertime, as the water starts to come in, you may want to push towards the inlet, Merle's Inlet, the actual jetties in the inlet, because that's where all the cool fresh water is going to hit first, and it's going to take a long time for it to hit in the backs of those creeks. So work your way from the inlet back on an incoming tide. I hope that makes sense. But the closer you can get to that cooler water, the better off you're going to be, and that's how those fish are going to react, finding that cooler water, and the bait and the menhaden and the mullet are going to want that cooler water also. So, Jake, I hope I answered that question for you. So yeah, ingoing and outgoing tide. I love it just when the current is moving. Again, the flounder seem to be more aggressive and will bite when there is no current. So those slack tides, at low tide and high tide, you can catch flounder. So guys, again, go ahead and throw your questions in if you have any. Creature baits, Russell, I have with a creature bait as a trailer. Yes, the creature baits work well. Absolutely, they do. They really do. So I like using. Matter of fact, I got some KVDs, and this is the Falcon Lake Crawl, and I have used this. Here, let me get it back over here a little bit. I have used this creature bait as a trailer on some stuff. Absolutely. So, yep, Russell, you're exactly right. You're exactly right. So, all right, guys. I hope everybody is doing well. This weekend, I know that Friday, it's going to be July 12th. They're calling for rain here in Myrtle Beach. And I believe they're calling for rain Saturday the 13th. That is when this redfish tournament is that I'm going to be in. And hopefully it doesn't rain. Definitely going to keep my eye on the weather. If there's going to be lightning and it's going to look bad, I'm just not going to go out. It's not worth it. I'll just make a donation, and maybe they'll postpone it if there's bad weather in the area. But I am going to be loaded up, and I'm going to be getting ready tomorrow, getting all of my rods and reels and everything set up, getting my rain gear in, getting lunches and water and everything packed up, because again, lines are in at 6:30 and out at 2:30, and it is a two fish redfish limit. So it's two fish and it's a slot 15 to 27 inches. So, if you can catch two 27s, you're going to be right there. And hopefully, we can, or at least, hopefully I can find some red Saturday morning, because I'm thinking that, the bite is going to shut off by probably, 11, 12 o'clock, and it's going to be pretty rough by, 1, 2 o'clock. I'm not expecting a whole lot of action. So, all right, guys. Jake, what app do you use for current wind conditions and wind forecast? In a pedal drive, I'm less afraid of getting stuck pedaling against the tide as I am the wind against me. Yeah, so wind, I just use just the regular local forecast, WMBF, WPDE, and I use AccuWeather. I have 3 weather apps on my phone, and I look at all 3, and that's all I use. Now there is an app called Windy. I know that it's a paid app. You have to pay something for it. That may be a couple bucks a month. But Windy, I used for a little while, and I really liked it. But I can get just as accurate as wind, as like WPDE, where it says southeast, at 5 miles an hour, and that's good enough for me. I keep an eye on the wind, just like you do, because being a kayaker, wind is your biggest enemy, and you get wind and tide. That's the double whammy if you're trying to get back to a landing against wind and tide. Sherwood, question: the fish finder on your yak was picking up bigger fish deeper in 7, 8 foot out to 10, 12 foot of water. So I saw big fish, but we couldn't find how to catch them. Reds and big mullet. My kayak was picking up bigger fish. Yeah, okay. So I saw the bigger fish, but we couldn't find how to catch them. Yeah. So even though you're seeing them on your fish finder, depending on where your transducer is setting on your kayak. In my kayak, my transducer is directly underneath my seat. So that transducer is going to put out a cone, and it's right underneath my seat. So by the time I see those fish, I'm on top of them and I'm passing them. So the reason why you couldn't get them or catch them, basically by the time you saw them, you were past them. What you needed to do was mark where you saw those fish, turn around, and come back and hit those areas. These guys who have forward-facing sonar, live scope, things like that, that is shooting an image and they're catching the fish way out in front of them, they can cast those fish out in front of them before they get over the top of them. With a 2D transducer, like I have my Striker 4, my Garmin Striker 4, and where my transducer is, I am on the fish or past them by the time I see them. I don't use my fish finder to actually, quote, find fish. I can, and yes, I have run over fish before and turned around and come back and tried to get them. I use my fish finder more for water depth, the water temperature, and other things like that than actually trying to locate fish. It's too difficult on a kayak. Like I said, unless you have some kind of 360 live scope forward facing sonar where you're catching these fish out in front of you. So hopefully that answered your question. Guys, it is 8:30. I'll give it another minute or two if anybody has any other questions. But again, the beer I was drinking tonight was Beach Life, and it's from Leatherback Brewing Company from St. Croix in the U.S. Virgin Islands, and it's a blonde ale. And man, I tell you what, guys, it is really good. That was one of those where you kind of go out on a limb to see, if you like it or not, and it was really good. It is a winner. So I'm probably gonna pick up another 6 pack or whatnot and really enjoy it this weekend. So, if you guys are looking for something a little bit different, look for Leatherback Brewing Company, Beach Life. Really good, really good. So let's get the calendar out and let's see when we're going to get another one. How about we do this again on July 25th? Yep, that's 2 weeks. So July 25th, we'll do it all again. And guys, bring your questions. And if you have questions beforehand, you can send them to my Facebook Messenger or Instagram. And Richard just jumped on. New to kayak fishing, really liking your info. Hey, appreciate that, Richard. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Appreciate that. So, yeah, I lost track of what I was saying. But if you guys have questions beforehand, before the July 25th next live Q&A, you can hit me up on the Facebook Messenger or Instagram Messenger, and I will write them down just like I did last time. Yes, I actually wrote them out longhand. So yeah, it was. Make sure you guys get your questions in. Carson, good to see you. Love watching your videos, learning a lot. Thank you, guys. I really appreciate that. That's the whole reason why I'm doing this. To give you a little bit of a backstory, since some of you guys are commenting on that, is so when I first moved down here to Murrells Inlet, and it was January of 2000 or 2001, something like that. So it's been, like 24 years I've been down here. And I came from Illinois, flatlander, bass, catfish, bluegill, that kind of stuff. Then I moved to Colorado for 5 years. I actually built a golf course out there and got into fly fishing and caught some rainbow trout, brown trout out there, and just really loved it. Got into fly fishing. And then when I moved out here, I wanted to get into saltwater fishing. Well, when I would go out and fish, I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know about tides and reds and flounder and all that kind of stuff. Well, when I would talk to local people, they were very hesitant to, help me out. And I wasn't asking for spots like, hey, where's your favorite spot? Is it out by that, that point right there? That's not the kind of stuff that I was asking. I was like, just like you guys asked, what's the favorite tide? How do the tides affect things? The water gets so dirty here. How do you fish that? And people just weren't, that open to help out. So, as I learned and, the hard knocks and getting skunked after years and years and picking up little things here and there, I finally thought, I want to help out other guys who are moving down here and who want to fish or who are younger getting into kayak fishing, because kayaks are so affordable now. Really you can run to Walmart or Dick's Sporting Goods and pick up a kayak for, $200 to $400, and you're on the water and you're fishing. So, when you guys tell me, hey, I caught my first flounder, I love your videos. You're giving me a lot of information. Guys, that makes my day, because this is the whole reason why I'm doing it. I'm not doing it to make money off of it. I'm not doing it for, all that kind of stuff. It's just, I love just putting out the information that I know, good, bad, and different. If I say or do something that you guys do differently, let me know. I'm still learning. I talk to guys who are a hell of a lot better fishermen than me every time that I go out, and I'm like, hey, what are you guys seeing? Is it muddy? Are they working slow patterns? Those are the kind of questions that I want to say. What was the water temperature? What were you seeing out there? Not where were you at? What are you seeing? It's two different things. So guys, I really do appreciate that you guys are watching and learning from the video. So it makes my night. Makes my night. So, guys, I really appreciate you, and I will see you in a couple weeks. And enjoy the video that comes out tonight at midnight, and you guys will see everybody fishing. There's 5 of us in small creeks fishing one little area. It was a ball. It was a blast. So, guys, y'all have a great night, and I will talk to you soon.